Menopause in Labour. Crazy party policies.
Hello and welcome to the show. Colourful conversations with Clergyman Pete and Businessman Mark.
Yep.
Yes, indeed, the Labour Party conference has started badly, according to many people. And in fact, when we look at some of the policies that the Labour Party are particularly going to unfold on the country, if it was to actually win a general election, it's quite alarming. Yes, under the Labour Party's proposals, large employers would be forced to provide flexible working hours to women experiencing the menopause. Yes, quite extraordinary. And this is claiming that it would end the stigma in the workplace. Now, Shadow Equalities Minister Dawn Butler announced the bold policy as the party conference started in Brighton this week. Well, as far as we're concerned on the Mark and Pete show, I just think there's a little bit of advice. Why not just simply pause? It's a strange cause, politicising the menopause, which opens doors to social wars. So think and pause before changing laws. The subject draws lots of flaws. Clergyman Pete, how could you possibly conceive the idea of menopause policy under the Labour Party government, potentially?
Well, I think what we have here is an outworking of a particular political attitude, based on a very now old political theory dating back to the 60s of a form of Marxism, which instead of pitting the working class against the owner and management class, it pits all different social groupings against each other. So you pick a victim group, in this case women, and we say, right, we're going to help them because we feel sorry for them, women. And you do that with all the different groups, and this happens to be the group that's being helped as a victim group this time. The groupings have to be victim groups so that you can help them. Okay, I'm just summarising the sort of theory behind it. Now, this is new. This is not the Marxism of old. This is not what the Labour Party used to be like. And so they seem like crazy policies. But we've seen this sort of idea in the Democrat Party over in the US, and it seems to have infected the Labour Party over here. So that's what I think it is. I think it's it's what is often referred to as identity politics. You have people's identity is based on the group that they're in this case, women who are suffering from the menopause, and then we have to help them because we feel sorry for them. It's the big brother, the nanny state. It's apart from being a really stupid policy, that's my opinion, because it doesn't actually help them. I think also it's really virtue signalling. I've got a quote here from the Labour Party, from Ms. Butler, who is speaking on the subject. She says, "Together we must end the stigma and ensure that no woman is put at a disadvantage from menstruation to menopause." That's a very weird thing to say. Really? Are people really stigmatised? I don't see it as being a stigma. I think it should be seen as the opposite.
Well, I mean, I'm all for the policy of opening up subjects, which are often are seen as being a little bit sensitive, and taboo subjects like the menopause has been an issue. And there have been, separate to the Labour Party policy, a number of initiatives to get people talking about it. Now, 3 in 5 menopausal women between the age of 45 and 55 say it has had a negative impact on them at work. Now, that's according to the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development. However, let's really analyse this. I think your point here is that the Labour Party seem to be floundering for some kind of credible policy. Now, there's nothing wrong with supporting a group of people, whether in this particular case it's menopausal women or anyone else for that matter. People want help. I have no idea how on earth they would ever imagine that this could be policed, even though that Ms. Butler claims that companies who employ more than 250 people would effectively have to train managers on the effects of the menopause and then try and somehow accommodate their needs. The challenge with this, as I'm sure any doctor will tell you, is no woman is exactly the same. So, for example, on average, and again, we need to mention this, and this should be the clue, menopause can hit women at different ages, so 45 through to 55, and they don't last in the same way. So how you could give them flexible working policies based upon that? Why can't that just be as it has always been, as a point of the management relationship, so employer-manager relationship? For centuries, people have coped with this. Where I think the policy should be is that to really have more openness and awareness of the subject, as opposed to making it potentially mandatory that they give them flexible working hours. Surely this is where, again, we need to ask the question, what is this potentially a government that is in the waiting to enforce this type of policy? I mean, to me, it's flawed.
Well, let's hope not, because this is ridiculous. Just following on from what you were saying, here is how it is not thought through and how it will have the opposite effect. If you have in place a statutory requirement, if you have it legally, as they're saying, that you have to ensure that there are special absence procedures that are flexible for menopause, then in fact what you're doing is putting pressure on people who are not coping with the menopause to stay in work. You're actually having the opposite effect. You're by making it such that you can have a flexible procedure, it makes it more difficult for people to recognise that the condition is causing I've got to stop working for a time. If it's about just keeping them in work no matter what, that's not a good thing to do. I know sometimes people have to do it, but we don't want more pressure. You don't want to put more pressure on them when they're struggling as it is. Surely, yes, as you were saying, Mark, the normal HR policies could cope with this without the government getting involved. I'm not saying, I'm not saying, and you're not saying that there should be that you shouldn't be caring in your HR policy, in your absence procedures. The problem that we have is with the government controlling it. And that's the real issue.
Well,
putting pressure on the women and on the companies.
There is something that worries me slightly more than this, and the government, and particularly the Labour Party, should know this more than anybody, which is, I'm going to say this four-letter acronym, which is GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation. And the point here is, if you are going to actually enforce it, presumably women going through the menopause would need a doctor's certificate, meaning that that's another piece of data which is they're having to gain. And medical information obviously does need to be protected. Why burden both the individual, the line manager, let alone the company, with this kind of issue? But also, surely that's another thing that's going to put more pressure on the NHS or the local GP service, because they would need to have to go back to the doctor for a certificate. And we can surely remove a lot of red tape, because this, let's face it, the health service has got enough to cope with. So I really don't understand how they think that they can police this. But then we come back to the points about the Labour Party in general. Is this actually just to get media sound bites? Is that the idea? Because if that's the whole flagship of their policy, and this is certainly one that has come to the fore to capture people's attention, I'm all for a bold policy, and I'm all for championing a worthy cause. But if it's not thought through, then don't do it.
Well, this isn't thought through for all the reasons that we've said, to do with actually policing it, to do with this another layer of paperwork and regulation and problems with keeping data. All these reasons, it's not a good idea. But I think that it is indicative of the direction that Labour is currently heading, down into identity politics, into virtue signalling, such that their policy on Brexit, which the leader Jeremy Corbyn was outlining, that it's to campaign for a new referendum. So if I get into power, there'll be a referendum. It's like David Cameron 2.0. What are you doing that for? Yeah, you're doing it again. It's to signal that you care about the people. A people's vote for the many is their slogan for their Brexit policy. It doesn't make any sense because should we trust any government, or why should we trust Parliament to enforce the result to actually carry out the result of this new referendum when they didn't carry out the last one? So this is ill thought through. It just isn't credible. It isn't credible.
I want to come in from a business point of view, and I ironically, dare I say, that the leaders and the minds that shape the Labour Party have actually sort of skated on something that actually is a worthy thing to pursue.
Surely not.
Now, oh yes. Now, if we go back to the beginning of this rather incredulous potential policy of giving menopausal women more flexible hours, it's actually the flexible hours. Mm-hmm. And I want to focus on that, widen it, because actually that is where it's more encompassing, which would accommodate men, women, of all ages, of all backgrounds. Because what's happening in the workplace is the dynamics of a workplace is such that people can work from home, people can work from low office locations, they can work on the go and so on. Having a law which enables employees to have greater flexibility to still do their hours and at the same time still achieve their goals, actually I think is something which is valid, because what's actually happening in a lot of businesses, they're still stifled by the fact that people have to be at a fixed desk policy, meaning that they have to travel many hours on the train, on the bus, to commute, to get to a place of work, when really that sort of Victorian mindset, in my view, is such that actually you can use collaboration tools from video conferencing facilities, mobile phones, and many other tools which enable you to do the job. There are exceptions. Of course, if you work in a hospital or any fixed location where you have to, or in a factory, you have to be at a fixed location. But the vast people in services don't need to be at a fixed place. So actually, ironically, in this, they should probably sort of sat back and thought, hold on, this policy that we're going to come out with isn't going to work. But what about the flexible hours working policy? And think that one through. To me, that's where they've missed a trick. And maybe it's a suggestion that if anybody, Mr. Corbyn, you're listening, because I know you're an avid listener to our show.
Big fan of the show,
That's where you should be putting your focus.
Yes.
But yes, I mean, so coming back to the moral side of this, I mean, I want to talk about just one final point to cover, which is the principle of the menopause as a discussion, which is often seen as a taboo, and not just in the workplace, but also in the community. So from people in your community, in your parish, what sort of things have you seen that has been a barrier to people?
I think
open now.
Well. No, it's often not mentioned, and of course the menopause can cause problems that are similar to what you would expect to going through a very stressful period. I know it's an internal, a physiological effect, but the outworking is if you're going through a big stressful period in your life, a crisis period, you'd have mood swings, you'd be getting angry for no reason, and these are the sort of things that are experienced by menopause women. It's not just hot flushes. It's more serious than that, and it can cause depression as well. Yep. And so what we have here is something similar to people going through a crisis. And one of the main things, as you were intimating earlier, is awareness. Really, what's needed is awareness. And if you were like any other, going through any other difficult stage in life, you'd probably be able to talk about it. Because this is pushed under the carpet, that's what makes it an issue. If people are simply aware of it, a lot of the supposed problems would go away because allowances could be made. So that's my impression in interacting with people. Really, it's just awareness of where do these mood swings come from. Once you're aware of it, then the issue, to a large extent, goes away.
Well, indeed. Now, listeners, what do you think about this? I mean, do you think that the Labour Party proposal is actually a good one? Or maybe, perhaps, a little bit like Clergyman Pete and myself, you think it's a little bit flawed? Well, why not log on to markandpete.com and let us know your thoughts?
Yep.
A very important subject, we all agree, but maybe an ill-conceived policy from the Labour Party members, possibly.
Yes.
Well, we would love to hear from you. So join us again next time for more colourful conversations with Clergyman Pete and Businessman Mark.